And we are back.
Welcome back, you beautiful creatures.
Can you bump my ISO by 1? You are a little bit brighter. Actually, I just scoot up. A little bit more. Just up 1. There we go. Oh, there we go. I think that's better. There goes Carrie running with a dog. All right. So we are going to do a pop-up live stream that's live for everybody. I know it's Friday. It's 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. A whole lot of you are going to be leaving work right now, and you might be able to listen to this while you're driving. But we are going to have a conversation because this morning when I woke up, there was a new member of our Patreon community that jumped into the Discord and asked my opinion on, or to make a video, or, just wanted me to address the who comes first in a relationship. If a woman tells you that her kids come first and will always come first, how do you deal with that? And I was going to send a little quick type out thing, and I started reading the comments, and then I started really typing, and I read some more, and I was like, all right, I need to stop. And I deleted all of it, and I went ahead and created a document that wanted to address some couple things, and then I realized that it would make a standalone video. This is a good conversation to have. Somebody in the chat on Facebook said, Peaches, you look so great.
Thank you.
I agree. Got the whole Cleopatra thing going over there today. As you were talking about that earlier, I was like, I can see that. I can see that.
Oh, thank you.
So I did something that we normally don't do, and I took copies of the Discord conversation so that I can read verbatim what was stated. Dude, enough with the whimpering. So the way the question was worded was, so Chris says that you should always put your partner first, even above kids. But what should I think if my partner tells me her kids will always come first? And before we get into anything else, it's important that you ask your person what they mean when they say that. You got to probe.
Yes.
What are you doing over there?
Holding Lilo.
Lilof?
Yeah, but she's licking pretty aggressively. It's
yeah.
A lot.
You can hear her breathing. If somebody tells you that my kids will always come first to what? Are we talking like drug addiction? Are we talking about your cellular data usage?
Yeah.
Or are you saying that no matter what happens, your kids will always be placed higher than me in our relationship? If a woman says to you, my kids will always come first, ask her to see her screen time. Because if she's got 4 hours a day on her phone, her kids don't come first.
Right.
Her phone does. I think that that's a very toxic statement. And I understand that if there's an emergency, the kid should come first. Mm-hmm. If you've got plans to go to a dinner date and a kid falls and busts his face on the tile and has to go get stitches, you're not going to dinner. You're going to the hospital. That's a priority. Mm-hmm. Saying that my kids are always going to come before you in a relationship or a marriage is basically saying that I know that no matter what happens, I will always be in the back seat of our life. And I'm not willing to do that. So I want to read a couple of the conversations a couple of the things that were listed on here, and then we can have a further discussion if you want to do that. You want to read these?
Yeah. So first comment was, I want to hear what Chris says about this because I have my own idea, especially if they are stepkids. Because I believe there is a time that your relationship has to come first. But when is the question? Because at some time the kids are grown and it's just you two.
Okay, so we'll do these one at a time. The stepkid thing is a big deal. Mm-hmm. When you first start talking to somebody, you can't expect them to put you as a priority. You haven't earned that right. You know what I mean? So what kind of a time frame do you think is you can't even, that's a fucking stupid ass statement because you can't put a time frame on it. It doesn't work that way. Relationships aren't based off of timeshare. It's based off of, your feelings and how good your person is and the things that's going on in your relationship. So what does that look like for you? Because, you had to put me as a priority in your life.
Once we decided to move in together and make our lives one. Once it was solidified that this relationship is it for us and we are going to be the model of what that looks like for the children.
Okay. I think that's a fair assessment. I think that's probably the right way to answer that too. because if you meet somebody in a week and you move in with them right away, it's not a healthy situation. Right. So like, that's not a healthy situation, and you've known somebody for a week, but I do agree when you move in and decide that we're going to do this, and it's going to be me and you, and we're modeling this for the children. I'm going to, before we move any further, say that you guys shouldn't be introducing people to your kids within, the first 5 or 6 months of knowing them, period. And if your kids come first and there's a new daddy in every time, because you want somebody to fill that role for your children because the dad's not there, your kids don't come first. You're doing that for you, not your children. You're doing that so you have the ability to allow a man to come around the house and spend the night and do all those things because, that's just mommy's friend. Right. While still telling the man, my kids come first. Again, the kids will come first all the time if there's emergencies and things of that nature. But when you're trying to build a foundation of a family and you're trying to have somebody come in and play a step parent, there needs to be a very clear structure laid out in the way that all that works. It was very difficult for me to step into the father role for your children because their father was very much or is very much a part of their life. And there was a moment of realization that we are living together and he's not in our home. We are.
Right.
So the first time I had to step up and intervene and discipline and do the things that I had to do, after it was said and done, we had a very long conversation about, was that too harsh? Was it not enough? How did that make you feel? Are you okay with the way that I handled it? And like, we had a debrief afterwards.
Yeah.
But you didn't stop me from what was happening. Obviously, I'm not abusing the children, but you didn't interrupt me. You didn't fucking take away that power of me being the head of the household. And I think that's very important.
I agree.
Okay.
The next comment says, I agree with this. Also, it depends on what she means by that. I think when people say my kids come first, you need to ask questions on what that looks like to them. Are they saying you are just going to be ruled by the kids, or are they saying that they're not uprooting their entire lives for a new relationship? There is a very wide range of interpretation in that statement. And
that falls back into what I said at the beginning about a probe. You have anything you want to touch on that?
No, I agree with that statement.
The interpretation of that is everything. And its perception is reality. Men are so used to hearing that my kids will always come first that we are just used to accepting the fact that we are going to be backseat drivers in this relationship. We're going to protect, provide, and mom is going to do everything until she can't anymore. And then we're going to be the bad guy because they're going to come to us and ask us to do the discipline or, tell us you can't discipline. Well, I walked in and the kid was writing fart on the wall with a Sharpie marker. What do you want me to do? Just let it happen?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so that those conversations need to happen, but that's a great point. My kids will always come first, meaning that I'm not going to let you move in, not going to let you move in with us. How about that one? And tell us that, this house isn't big enough and we need to move and the kids are going to have to go to a school district and all of that shit. I can see how that conversation in the beginning of a relationship would be very crucial. But I also think 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, that goes out the window because if you guys are living as one,
right,
you have to make decisions that benefit the family that are not solely based around the interest of the children.
Yes. Next comment says, I will say every time she has told me that it absolutely crushes me. I feel it triggered me because I have very much struggled with self-esteem. I guess it would be because I've always been made to feel like I'm not enough to be a first/top priority. I also feel it taps into my abandonment issues from my childhood.
So that was actually written by the person who wrote the initial question. And I fucking get it because we had that conversation. I'm not going to be in a relationship with someone where I'm not going to be their number one priority. And you can call it selfish or narcissistic or controlling or abusive or whatever the fuck you want to call it. That's the expectation that I have in my life because I'm willing to do the same thing for you.
Right.
So if you have somebody in your life and you're willing to put them above everything on a pedestal and, it's the relationship and then the two of you, and in their eyes, it's the relationship, the kids, their interest, their parents, their job, and then you're somewhere down here. You're not going to thrive in your relationship. It's just not going to work.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And I can see how that taps into the abandonment thing too, because your person's basically letting you know that in the event that my kids don't like you, I'm out.
Yeah.
Well, your kids aren't going to be here forever. And if this is supposed to be the person that you were meant to be with and you decide to fucking bail on them and your kids move out at 18 and 19, that's really obnoxious coming through the walls like that. And they decided to step out and go do their own thing, which is expected because that's their life.
Right.
You've given up a huge portion of your life raising them and you have nothing to show for it. You've chased away every man that's come into the picture, or every woman for that matter, if that's the way you're living your life. But I think that's a big discussion that needs to be had at the very beginning of things.
Mm-hmm. Next comment says, yeah, it's been mentioned a few times. At some point, there has to be a switch from single parent to step parent and focusing on the relationship aspect,
Great
like
point.
needing date times. I do agree that if I, as someone's partner, has an issue and the kid breaks a bone, they definitely come first. This is just a blown out example. But like when making decisions, I also believe the kid's best interests need to be looked at, but also personal quality of the relationship. If you're going to trust that person with being a step parent, you need to prioritize the aspects of your relationship to feed it as well.
I also think that in that aspect, I think that in that aspect, if you are in a relationship and you're expecting the person to be there as a parent in an event of emergency, right? Like you're at work and little man fell and I have to go pick him up because he's bleeding. And I'm able to get there way before you are, and I can go and assess the situation. Are you going to trust my word and say, hey, it's just a scraped knee, he's okay, we cleaned it up, he's going to go play? Or are you going to call out of work, not even tell me, just miss the rest of the day of your work thing, go over there, realize it's a scraped knee, and then take the rest of the day off because you don't want to be there because your kids come first?
Right.
Like there's a whole lot that plays into that. And in that, I think that statement, my kids will always come first, is basically just creating a divide right away in the relationship, in that I will never know where I stand in things. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really going down a hard one on that one.
Yeah. This next one is, I posted this. I won't speak for my husband, but from a woman's perspective, this can be toxic. It shows that your feelings, wants, and needs are less important to her than her children's, and this will bleed into any type of discipline or tension that will arise in the family dynamic. It will also show the children that they can manipulate a situation to get what they want out of it, and that your voice will more than likely go unheard when it comes to concerns involving the children. Long term, this mindset will be very detrimental to the relationship.
I agree with that.
I posted more after that. Did you get it?
I didn't see it. While you look for that, I want to address a comment right now. Amy said, I don't see any of the comments that they are reading. Are they reading comments from another platform? So currently we are live on Facebook and YouTube. The comments that we're reading came from our Discord. We have a private Discord server that's available through Patreon. And this was a conversation that went down at like 8 o'clock this morning. And it was a new member that came in that was asking for advice. And we wanted to really have a discussion about it because, I mean, there's a lot of great points here. The community is a community. Everybody jumped in and started answering questions and trying to help. And it was a very, very beneficial scenario. And I think that this live stream is going to show how involved our community is with each other, and maybe highlight some of the awesomeness that's there. Did you find the other one?
I did.
Okay.
I said, I'm not saying that the children are not important or less than. When your guys' relationship is prioritized and nurtured, you are both heard and cared for. The children, by proxy, will have the best life that they can. My main concern would be you becoming a backseat passenger of your own life.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that if you prioritize the relationship and you've got a good person on both sides, right? Both people are living for the relationship. The kid's not having a good day or being stressed out or having homework or, falling down and scraping their knee or getting a broken bone or whatever kids do. It's going to affect the entire household because you guys are living as a unit instead of a division, a divided front. So in that scenario where we have two kids that are 6 and 7 years old, one of them is a daredevil and one of them is absolutely not. When somebody falls, it could be a really bad fall,
right?
Or it could be a really bad scene because somebody fell and there's no hurt. You know what I mean? Because there's the difference in personalities there. But we stop what we're doing. We stop what we're doing to make sure that things are taken care of. And if we weren't prioritized and they're just your kids and they come first no matter what, if something happens, that's your problem. Your kids come first to you. They don't come first to me. I'm not a priority here. You need to go handle that. And I can see people putting that emphasis into their relationship, which just furthers that toxic shit you were talking about.
Yeah. The next comment said, in my opinion, this comes from a lack of understanding the big picture. This is something young girls are taught to say from a young age. They are told your children are your world, or your children should always come first. It's a programmed way of thinking before women have the opportunity to develop their own thoughts.
That's the third time today that I've heard that term programming.
Yeah.
The first one was in Troy's. He had an episode with another psychedelic person today on his podcast, and he said, "I'm going to ask you 5 words, and I want you to give me the first thing that pops into your mind." And he said religion, and she said programming.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "Damn!" And like she clarified why she said that, and it was a very long explanation, but it was very good. I can't remember what the second one was, and then that one just now.
Yeah. Next one says, I think a conversation is necessary in this case, explaining that the only constant in your life is your partner. The one person intended to be with you until death is your partner.
Right. I think that depends on what your expectation is in the relationship. But that falls back onto what I said earlier. If you're in a relationship and you're meeting people and bringing them around your kid within the first week, there's no structure there. There's, you know what I mean? Like your kids are used to a revolving door of people coming in and out of your house. Now, if you court somebody and you take things slow and you've known them for 6 months or a year and you finally let them meet your kids, this is going somewhere.
Right.
So having that intent of we are dating for longevity, I've made a lot of mistakes. You've made a lot of mistakes. We want to have a peaceful, happy existence for the rest of our lives, and we're trying to make this work. That's very different than the rotating thing.
Yes.
Somebody in the chat just said there's no such thing as a blended family. There is a salad family. Everyone in the relationship is equally important, but the marriage or relationship must be made a priority. That's a great way to look at that. And I do really like the it's programmed.
Yes.
And I think that's social media. I think that's television shows. I think it's all of the I think that's pretty much fucking everything that we're being force fed now. I think somebody just bought one of my books. Nope. Okay.
Next one.
Yeah.
I think there's so much perspective that needs to be thought through as well. This is not directed at the commenter. I don't know your situation. I'm not saying any of this applies to you. When I hear my kids come first, I hear before and above addiction. They have a bedroom before I do. They have food before I do. The more obvious things. When Chris and Peach are saying, put your partner first, I understand that they mean after the actual duties you have to children that you've brought into this world. I understand that they don't mean to the detriment of the children.
That's a great point. And obviously that's something that we have, that's like a no duh thing, right? So anybody of intelligence would understand that. That whole aspect of before addiction, they have a bedroom before I do, they have food before I do. That's what I want to see. If you really want to be with somebody that puts your children first, that needs to be the reality. You don't get a new cell phone this year because your kids need school clothes, right? Like you don't need the new whatever because your kids need whatever that your kids need. That's a very different thing. You're working 2 fucking jobs because your kids need what your kids need.
Right.
I'm no longer being lazy because my kids need what my kids need. That's a very different conversation. And then the other aspect of that is I understand that they mean after the actual duties you have to the children. And then they said, because you brought them into the world, as the step parent or the person who's not the father or mother of the children, those are not our duties. But when you decide that you want to be with somebody that has kids, that conversation needs to be had because you will be filling that role while they're living in your house. Those kids are going to follow in your footsteps, whether you like it or not. I think it's very easy and lazy for people to just step back and wash their hands of a situation when it comes to kids. The actual duties of the children, if you're not willing to do those actual duties and your guys are not willing to do that together, you don't need to be with somebody who has kids. That's just all there is to that.
I agree with that.
Slim Sadie's for $5 super chat said, thank you for being a shining example of what it means to live a purpose-driven life. I'm forever grateful for your influence. Keep being rad as fuck. Thank you. That last one we've kind of already talked about, but the last part of I guess you can just read that one too.
Okay. This is why when someone says the kids come first, I want them to clarify what they meant by that, because in some instances, kids absolutely do come first.
So what are those instances? Because I can't think of a single scenario where the kid comes first that's not like an emergency situation because, well, go ahead. I don't want to like project thoughts.
My mind is going to that episode of 1923 that we just recently watched because that's the freshest thing in my mind. So if I was a poor Irish woman on a train heading somewhere and I only had enough money to buy a single meal ticket, I'm not eating.
Right.
My kids are going to eat. If we're in the wilderness and it's below freezing temperatures and I can build a fire, but we only have one blanket, the children are using that blanket.
Absolutely. So if both of us are there, neither one of us are eating, right? So does that mean that you're putting the children first or we are making sure the children's needs are met?
The latter.
Right. So that's the difference between that statement of my kids are always going to come first. Well, if that's the case, I'm not doing this because I'm willing to put myself out and suffer to make sure that your kids have what they need also, but we have to be a united front and a team for that to happen. And in order for that to happen, we have to prioritize the relationship. And the difference between I putting my kids first and we are making sacrifices to make sure they have what they need is not the same thing. And because of that, I don't think there's a scenario where the kids' needs absolutely come first.
Right.
In that, right? Okay. Yep. We got another super chat from Rebecca that said, I'm getting married in the beginning of May in Springfield, Illinois. Y'all should come be the officiants at our wedding. We're longtime fans. So we looked to find out what it would cost this morning to fly to Missouri to do a wedding in November, and it was almost $3,000 for the weekend. So we're not doing that unless you guys want to pay for all of that shit, pay for our flights, pay for our hotel, pay for our rental car, and like all of our expenses. Then we might consider having those things happen. But right now, knowing how much it costs to travel to do that shit, it's not happening.
That's a massive deficit.
Yeah. So a huge loss is just a cool thing to do for somebody.
Yeah.
Now, if you were in Florida and it was a 30-minute drive, it'd be a very different conversation.
Right.
Bandit Gaming 51 said, I just blended 2 different pairs of shoes, so I had an okay pair of shoes. Also just ordered my kids $156 worth of shoes because he needed shoes. See, and that's it. I mainly wear my $40 work boots. Cass said, we put the children's safety and needs first, but our relationship has to be first to be the same page as to what that means. Again, that falls back on making the sacrifices to make sure the kids have what they need. That's not putting them first. If you have one person in the relationship that's willing to to make the sacrifice and the other one's not, and has that fuck them kids mentality.
Yeah.
We only got $17 in the bank account and there's enough money there to feed the kids and one of us, it'll be the kids and you. And I'm not fucking eating. We actually just experienced that. We did something recently and you got me something. It was a chocolate bar.
Yeah, we stopped at a gas station.
And you got the kids chocolate, Skittles, and then you got me a chocolate bar and you got you nothing. And you came out and I was like, where's yours? And you're like, I didn't have, that was 17 cents short because you had physical paper money.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, here. And I tried to give it to you and you're like, I don't eat almonds in my candy bars, which I know that, but I still was trying to get, but we talked about that. I don't want you to ever do that again. Like I want to be the one to be put out. I want you to have all the great and all the yummy and love and greatness. Because you do that for me in so many other facets of our life. Like there's a time and a place for me to make those sacrifices and a time and a place for you to make those sacrifices. And I'm good. I'm fat. I can miss a candy bar or a meal. You know what I mean? I don't know.
When I hear the kids come first, I hear you will never be as important to me as my children are.
I do too.
That your wants and needs will come second to what my children want. So if you want a date night, but the kids want to have a movie night, even though we had 2 of them already this week, we're going to have another movie night.
Right. And without the conversation and the probing and like the deeper conversation of that happening, that's exactly how that will be taken. Because that's how I've always taken it when I've heard it.
That's how I meant it when I used to say it.
Yeah. See? But how would that have served you in a relationship? Like
it didn't.
Yeah.
Every relationship that I said that in ended.
Buff Bell said that's all men want. Their women and kids taken care of. Well, and that's the reality of it. But as a step parent, they're not my kids. And as much as I call them our kids and I'm there and I'm raising and I'm doing all those things, I know that at the drop of a dime, if anything was to ever happen to you, he's not going to let me see those kids anymore. Like, I don't mean if anything happened to us, if something happened to you, those kids are gone. I unless they needed something that was expensive, I doubt I would ever see them again. And that's a harsh reality of being a step parent as well. Like, I could pay for their entire life, get them through college, and until they're adults and want to spend time with me and be around me, like I have no access to those kids if something was to happen. Honey Badger said, just wanted to say hello, missed y'all. Sorry I've been MIA. My husband and I agree that our relationship comes first. We will still be together when they move out. Exactly.
Yeah.
Buff Bell said, my mother-in-law has, with her whole chest, told me the day her son was born, her husband took a back seat, and she stands on that. That is absolutely fucking insane to me.
Yeah.
Lissy Harris said, what about kiddos' attitudes? I have a hard time seeing their bad attitudes in some instances as my boyfriend perceives it. Well, that's perception is reality. And there are things that you, Peaches, are a lot more okay with than I am. Because I view certain things as very disrespectful. And I'm not going, like, the time that you guys were playing, it was like, I can't even remember what y'all were saying, but in my head, it was like, well, what are you going to do? Well, what are you going to do? Like, it was like a challenge in each other. And I didn't know that you guys were playing. I was at the computer and you guys were in a whole nother room, but you were being loud. And I got way the fuck involved. And you were like, hey, we were playing. And I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
my bad. Like, I didn't realize that was a game. Like, I thought she was like really talking out of the side of her neck to you. That comes down to making sure that the children are going to be able to function as adults. Because you might be a little shit right now, but when you become an adult, you can't talk to your boss that way. You can't talk to your friends that way. Like, you have to be mindful of the way that you deliver your jokes or your sarcasm or even your hostility. You need to be diplomatic. Like, there needs to be ways to deal with that. So in that situation, you guys need to have a conversation as to why he feels like that behavior is the way that it is, why he's trying to correct it the way that he's trying to correct it, and is that correction acceptable to both of you in terms of how you want your household to be raised. That's a conversation between you guys that needs to happen away from the kids. Maddie said, I bought the book for my husband and I don't even think he's tried to read it. He said it was corny and it doesn't make sense. What do I now do now? He's not even trying, please. Wow. Your husband wouldn't take 2 hours to read a 165-page book, a little itty bitty teeny tiny book. I can read that in 2 hours.
Right. It doesn't make sense because he hasn't read it.
Yeah.
That would be a conversation then of you can't even read one book to try and fix our relationship. Tell me I'm not important to you without telling me I'm not important to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Actions speak so much louder than words do. So much fucking louder than words do.
I don't believe in ultimatums, but I would very much find a way to word it of it. If you're not going to take this seriously, our relationship's not going to be a thing tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, that would take me time to process on how to deliver that too. That's because my go-to is that, like, my knee jerk reaction is you statements. You don't love me enough, right? Because there's a definitive fucking statement right there that feels like an attack. To take 2 hours out of your day to read a fucking book that I think is going to make our relationship better, like, that's my knee jerk response.
Right.
I think that
I believed this was important.
Oh, that's good.
And I believed that this would be something to enhance the relationship that we currently have because I'm not happy. And by choosing to not read this book, I'm being shown that there is not a care in what's going on with us. And this isn't what I want for myself in the future.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
I'm not going to be in a relationship where I feel like I don't matter.
Yeah. I would probably start with I'm not happy. And I haven't been for a long time. And I bought you that book because I want you to understand what I expect of a husband or a boyfriend or whatever they are to you. And I was really hoping that you would read it to save our relationship. And then just sit in silence and let that sink in until they respond, and then figure out where to go from there. That was really good though. I believe is a good way to because it's a calm conversation. All I can see is donkey. I believe.
I believe. Yeah.
Amanda Ford for $5 said, at what point are trips or overnights and leaving the kid home alone okay? Also, snooper chat. That is a very strong question and really independent of your own children.
Yeah.
I'm an 80s baby. Depending on how long you were going to be gone, I was at home.
I was home by myself by 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
Someone knocks on the door, you hide.
Yeah. Don't answer the phone unless I call and it rings. It rings 3 times and then it's like a minute, 2 goes by and then calls and rings once and then a minute goes by and then calls again. Then it's me answer the phone.
Yeah.
Right. Like all that stupid shit was the 80s thing, but I was a latchkey kid. Like, so that was very early on. I know that I was home alone 7, 8, 9, 10 years old for hours at a time.
Yeah.
And then as a teenager, obviously it didn't really matter.
Right.
But I think that depends on the maturity level of your children, how cool you are with your neighbors, right? Because they could just go over there and check on them or whatever the case may be. Leaving a kid alone overnight now, oh man, I don't know. I got to be honest, I like our kids and wouldn't want to leave them at home.
Yeah.
You know, where I'd find a sitter. Like
things are more fun when they're around.
Most of the time. Sometimes they're a little lot. Sometimes they're a
dicks.
lot.
Yeah, sometimes they're dicks.
Yep.
Our son this morning with that attitude.
That shit stopped though.
I walked in there and I was like, Bubby, time to wake up. You got to jump in the shower and finish your homework. And it was immediate attitude. I was like, I'm not going to ask you again. Get up and do what I asked you to do. And I did it with a smile on my face and he started whining and I went and got you.
Yeah.
I'm about to lose my mind on this child.
Jenny said, if you accidentally answered it, I'm sorry, mom's in the shower. Yep. Yep. Robin said, I just signed up for Patreon after over a year of following and catching up on all the content I could. Love your guys' content. Well, that's great because you'll get to watch a whole lot of live because we do live streams a few times a week.
Yes.
We were going to do this as a standalone After Dark episode tonight, but this is something that I think is important enough to go live for everyone. And I got to be honest, I expected there to be arguing in the comments. There's 200 people watching between both channels, and there's no arguing.
Hell yeah.
Sabrina said, my son stayed with Mike's aunt for one night so we could get sleep. He was 6 months. I cried 3 times.
I get that. Oh my goodness.
Funny.
We've had split custody for years at this point. And there's times where I still cry because the kids are at their dad's house.
Yeah, every time they're getting ready to go over there, you always say that you don't like that it's happening.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry right now.
I don't like who they are when they come back.
Yeah.
And like, so little man had a really hard time with this. Is going to go somewhere, I promise. Little man had a really hard time yesterday with his math homework because he's trying to convert coins and add and subtract money based off of coin value.
Yeah.
And I printed out a little sheet and I was trying to give them the sheet so that he had like a visual reference of how much each coin was, thinking that would help him because it's numbered. You can see it. And then, like, you know, he didn't finish his homework last night. So we got him up early this morning to do his homework. And I went and got change. We took some out of your purse, took some out of the car, and I brought it in. And, like, he was able to do his homework really quick because he physically was able to count the coins.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what works best for the child. And us all being stressed out because he couldn't figure out his math homework unless we were walking him through it step by step. Until we found the change where he was like, oh, I fucking get it because I can just move this and count it like an abacus. That kind of, we have to figure this out, goes away when kids are being bounced from parents to grandparents to other parents to step parents now implementing rules. And like, you've got so many fucking hands in the pot trying to raise children. So when they come back, because the rule structure is so vastly different, there's always an adjustment period. And it feels like right as soon as they're starting to get adjusted back to our house, they go back over there. I hate it.
Me too.
I hate it.
Me too.
Jamie said, not a parent, but select people with sleepovers, if any at all. When if I do raise any, stats say it's the people you know and trust, and I won't risk it. I mean, that's true. That's true. It's usually people that are close to you that end up abusing your kids. But that's also family members and shit. So it's, you know.
I had a thought this morning. I don't think I can say it on here.
Probably better not then, because people like to flag our shit.
I'm gonna text it to you.
Okay. Kayla said, the patience that me and my husband have now listening to you guys is amazing. How simple it was to just sit and listen. Actually listen. 10 years in has helped us grow and learn more about each other. Even when it comes to handling issues with the kid, trusting in my partner, I'm just very grateful for finding you guys. So I'm glad that you're here and still supporting us, even though that you got what you needed. Tessa said, I get that, Chris. I have one who goes to an abusive household every other weekend. You can tell nothing's changed on that end. By the way, my son talks to me when he gets home. Yeah, definitely don't say that on the podcast. I agree. I fucking agree. But yeah, somebody would absolutely flag us for that.
Yeah.
What would your advice be towards parents that are stuck in conflict?
Is the conflict about the children?
Yeah. What is the conflict? Yesterday, see, it's not going to come out till May. This is why you guys all need to subscribe to the Patreon channel, because our patrons are fucking so much more advanced than everybody else because of all the hard conversations that we have. But yesterday we explained the 80-20 rule. If you have a good relationship, 80% of your relationship is solid. You guys are going to fight over the same 20% of bullshit all the fucking time. That 20% of things is the things that don't matter, like they snore or they fart or they only watch golf on the weekends.
They leave the toilet seat up.
Right. That's the bullshit. Now, if you are stuck in a gridlock and it's something that has to do with incompatibility or uncompatibility, how is that worded? In or un? In. Those percentages go to about 80%. 79, I think it's, 70%. 69 to 70% of that comes from an incompatibility, where you have differences in religion, parenting, if you want kids, retirement, all of that kind of shit. Those kind of gridlocks you can't get over because those are like instilled values and personality traits in a person. That's not going to change. So it's really important that you guys find the right person that you become, that you bring into your home or whatever. I would like to know what the conflict is.
I can tell that was you because you're avoiding eye contact. Don't do that.
Allison said, advice on asking for the same thing for over 10 years. My husband busts his butt to provide for us. He's only home 4 days a month. While I understand he's tired when he is home, why am I wrong for asking for help with the kids or work around the house he is as a man can do, but I can't or would struggle with? So he's home for 4 days a month, and all you want him to do is take care of the kids and honeydew list and bitch and complain at him. Like,
I'd be all over you.
I wouldn't want to come home if that was the case. I would rather just stay at a hotel those 4 days. Why would I? You don't know your children. Right? 4 days a month, you don't know your kids. You don't know their personality traits. You're not helping with homework. You're missing a whole lot of shit in their life.
Right.
And to come home and have to deal with conflict, why the fuck would anybody want to do that?
The house could be dirty as fuck for those 4 days.
Right.
We're door dashing meals. I'm putting money aside to make sure I don't have to do anything while you're home, and you are getting undivided attention.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a date night. We're gonna have a family day.
Yeah, I think that's the way that needs to go too.
Yeah.
And I'll take it a step further by saying if there's things that are broken in the house and he's not there, pay somebody to fix that shit.
Yeah.
Hire a handyman. Get on Facebook and type in handyman on Marketplace and get like 6 people to come over and give you quotes. Find one that's insured and have them fix the shit.
Right.
Negotiate, haggle. Be like, I'm a single mom. I got 5 kids or whatever the fuck is there. Please help me out. Most people don't give a fuck about any of that, but you can try. I mean, the worst that's going to happen is they're going to say no.
Right.
But you guys need to prioritize your time. That doesn't sound like an intimate relationship at all.
Wait, what needs to be done that you can't do? If it's like plumbing issues, I'm not going to ask my husband to fix plumbing issues. I'm going to call a plumber. Right.
Well, it's why would you wait until I'm home for that?
Right.
If I'm gone for most of the month and it happens and I'm not going to be home for a week and a half, you don't want to be living in a house with fucked up plumbing.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Roger said, your book has opened my eyes to my shortcomings as a husband, father, and as a man. Your book has made me realize I have a lot of work to do for myself within my marriage and for our future. I fucking love that.
Can't wait to hear about how you evolve from that.
Yeah, I would like an email. If you would like to send me an email about all of it and be very detailed about what you plan on changing and what your shortcomings were, I would like to read it on Voice of the Broken. You can send it to tobebetterco@gmail.com. Let's just scroll down to the bottom. Wait, was that the answer? Conflict in a way that the ex is not over. The fact that there is a separation and now the child is the only link that can be used to attack the other person. And the separation is taking so much space that there is just no communication towards the child's needs. Ex is not over the fact that there is a separation.
Is it your ex or his ex?
Well, the bigger question is if you're in a relationship and you've been together long enough where you're living together and the children are involved in all of that shit, it's very clear that it's over. The ex is just used to crossing boundaries and getting what the fuck they want because the person that you're with, or you, whoever it is that's doing that, is caving and allowing that to happen. Read, what is it? Find Boundaries, No Peace.
Set Boundaries, Find Peace.
Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Glover.
Tawan.
Glover.
Tawwab.
Her last name is Glover, isn't it?
It's that blue and pink one. Right. There's a big ass yellow book that says Influence. And right next to it is Set Boundaries, Find Peace.
Nedra Glover Tawwab. Somebody in the chat said, do not bang the handyman. Yeah, don't do that. Kat said, coming from someone who was a former military spouse, if my husband was home for only 4 days, that honey-do list would have been tasked out before he even got within 5 miles of the house. Alexander said, as someone who has a husband in the construction field, when he is home, I make it all about our family time for us. We try to get some things done he wants to do done, but priority is him spending time with us. That's it, guys. You have to prioritize your fucking relationships. And you can't force people to do shit. The last comment about the whole I've been asking him to do shit for 10 years and he won't do it. That's because he doesn't fucking want to. Like, you can't make somebody serve you. That's slavery. You can't force somebody to change who they are to meet your needs. You need to love someone for who they are, not for the potential of who they could be. Because you can't fucking force somebody to be what you want them to be. It does not work that way. So,
what was that?
A wedding invitation.
Huh.
Was somehow wedged in there. Somebody asked, what is the book you speak of? I don't know if you're asking about my book that I wrote or this book. This is a great book. For any of you that have a hard time setting boundaries and like you're worried about control or you're worried about, oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of shit in here. I don't know why that got tucked in there, but if you guys are worried about being perceived as annoying or, you know, people pleasing or the case may be, this is a great book for that. Set Boundaries, Find Peace. Will you hold my book up, please, babe? That book, however, is all about some man shit. It's not really. It's just about life shit. But there is definitely chapters in there for men.
Yeah.
And it's linked in the description of YouTube.
What?
Sabrina said, Peach, I have to say, I love you with long hair. Your hair has grown so much since the beginning. It really has.
Stop it.
And she said, Chris, your hair looks good too. Well, thank you. Thank you. It's Peach's favorite seat, so I got to make sure that it's properly groomed and soft, because the last thing we want is anything to poke your butthole.
Get rug burned.
Yep. Alexandra said, I was hoping it was a hidden sticky note from Peach. Man, I hope you don't ever hide sticky notes in my books.
Why?
Because I'll never find them. Because once I've read them, I've read them. Like those.
That was pure happenstance.
All of those books back there are bought because I wanted to highlight certain sections so that we could talk about it on the podcast.
And then they sit there forever.
And then they look great though. And
They
I
do
have
look
read all of
fantastic,
those. So
yeah.
PJ's Creation said ladies can 100% learn from it as well. That's what I've been told. I have been told a lot about new perspectives. A lot of people saying things like, it made me realize how much I want my husband to be different than he is. Like, there's been a whole lot of like positive and some negative about the book. Not negative in like it's a shitty book, but negative in the outcome of
I'm about to have a
reading it.
mental breakdown.
Because it's not layered properly.
It's too close to my neck. So that needs to come off. Oh gosh. My shirt broke today.
Cass said, I asked my husband to read your book. He said he's got too many already lined up. How would you address this to express feeling this should be a priority? I would actually just say that. It's cool that you have a whole lot of books that you want to read, and I respect that you read so much, but this book is something that I'm asking you to read for me so that we can have discussions about it. Can you please make it a priority? Make it about you. It would make me really happy if you read that book. And if he doesn't want to do it and still stretch it down, it says a lot about, how he feels about your situation. A cabal of dissidents said, I tried serving my husband dinner first the other night. He slid it to our youngest. We've always served our kids, youngest to oldest, then dad, then mom. I think it's weird for him that I went opposite. It could have been. But you might have to talk about it. Nobody gets to eat until Peaches sits down with her plate. I get my food first, then the kids, then Peaches, then we eat. And the reality is I eat cold food almost every night.
Yeah, no, that's not true. Fucking fibber.
Feel pity for me, guys. No.
Don't lie to our friends.
Yeah.
Makes me sound like a bad wife.
That's funny. Not at all. Not at all.
You do get served first. Last night there was cold chicken, guys. I made the chicken before I made the pasta. I thought that the chicken was going to hold its heat better than it did. And we all ate cold chicken and nice hot pasta.
Yeah, it worked though, because it was still warm in the bite.
Yeah.
It was like, you never knew.
Chicken was good last night.
Yep. Food was good last night.
Parmesan encrusted chicken and pasta with ricotta cheese.
Yeah. Slim Sadie's asked how many spots are open in the ladies group.
Which one? In my top tier women's group, I believe I am down to 4 spots now. I had another woman join today. And in my women's Thrive group, I believe I have 20 spots available.
There was a lot of verbal and mental abuse in the early stages of the relationship, and it's just been hard for me to get past it all, even though it hasn't happened in a while. Well, that's a you problem. You need to acknowledge the fact that change is happening.
Yeah.
And lean into that and support those changes and like give verbal affirmations. I noticed that you've been really good about not doing X, Y, and Z lately. And I really appreciate it, blah, 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 blah. Jenny said, I always serve the kids first, so it had time to cool down. It never occurred to me not to. It's, Kat said, oh, there are spots available. There are. In both of our groups, there are spots available.
Yes.
Where can I purchase the first book I just purchased? No One Is Coming to Save You. I like the other as well. Amazon. It's all the recommended reading that we have is on our website, tobebetter.com. You guys can actually download a PDF that has all the shit that we recommend people read. And it's categorized. So like finances, relationships, men, women, whatever.
I found a pocket.
To get a signed copy, it needs to be ordered off the website. Yeah, if you want a signed copy of my book, you have to order it from tobebetter.com. And I believe there's 2 books left on the website right now that are signed copies. Might be 3. But I do know that I ordered 50 more copies and they'll be here at the beginning of the month at some point. So if they are sold out, you can just come back in a week or so and they should be on there. Bandit Gaming said, I don't eat until everyone else has. I grew up in a house where my mother worked 2 jobs to support the house. Being a leader in the army, my guys ate first. It just continued into everyday life. Right. Well, I get my plate first. I just don't eat until you've sat down.
Correct.
You gonna show off your rocks?
I can.
Now look at this.
Hey, dun 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 dun. This is a smoky quartz. Everybody ooh, everybody ah. She's chunky. She has a sister. Even chunkier. Look at her. Gorgeous. Yes. I also now have this nice velvety bag for all my rocks. I don't even have all of them. I have like placards. All of the information.
Ooh, rocks. She's pretty. Yes, she is. She's gorgeous.
I love it.
Oh, you were talking about the crystal. I meant my woman.
And then I got all of these guys yesterday. Except for this one. I found this one in my office. I don't know what she is, but I will find out tonight. Selenite. Very nice. Very good worry stone. Jenna commented on worry stones today on our Women's Thrive call. Opal. Man-made. Very nice.
Synthetic.
Very pretty.
You know that if those get hot, they explode.
Opals?
Yep.
I love that.
I had in my display case at the tattoo shop, we used to have a 6-foot display, like a tall one that was like 6 foot tall, 4 foot wide. And I had it by the front window. And you know, we get laser beam hour a couple months out of the year where the sun comes through and it hit that thing and it exploded one of those and it broke the glass, shattered the fucking glass on the display case.
That's insane.
Yep.
Moonstone. She's pretty.
PJ's creation. That is not a snake on her bag. It is a goose.
I'll show you guys that in a moment. Chrysocolia. I bought this one because it was on sale. Lapis lazuli. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I like it because it reminds me of that guy from Harry Potter. Green jade. Very nice. Very pretty. I like the line in it. Red tiger eye. Red tiger eye. Tiger's eye. I like how red it is.
Caitlin said my internet is slow. Can you tell me how to join the women's group? I love the videos you guys make and post. Go to patreon.com/to-be-better and scroll down to the memberships and then all the way down to the bottom and find the Peaches Women's Group. There's 2 of them. There's the Thrive group, which is $50 a month, and then the other one that's $115 a month. And you get different things from the different groups. It's all listed on there.
Strawberry obsidian. I bought it because I like strawberries. This is the biggest boy that I bought yesterday, and I was very, very excited about this. Oh, I'm dropping things. I have her bubble wrapped because I carry her in my bag. Malachite?
Malachite.
Malachite.
I think this would be malachite. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I have a really hard time with English words.
Hunter, the name of my tattoo shop, our tattoo shop, is Sacred Rights Tattoo. You can follow them on Instagram. I believe we have a TikTok still, although I think one of the new artists is getting ready to take it over, so it'll actually start getting used again. James said, how can I talk to you both? I need to try to fix my mess. You can send us an email, or you can join our Patreon and get into our Discord. We talk to people in Discord all the time.
I fibbed. This was Red's tiger eye. Red tiger eye. Strawberry obsidian.
I was right. It's called malachite.
Golden quartz.
Look at my rocks. Look at my shiny rocks. This is like me with dice. Look at, I got this one and I got this one. I got this one.
I love my rocks. See, she gets bubble wrapped.
We went to a store in Sarasota yesterday to try to find some really big, cool pieces for the studio because soon, hopefully within the next 3 to 4 months, we'll have internet at our house and we can set up our in-law suite as a podcast studio and we can get rid of the actual studio and we want to build this shit out and have a bunch of cool stuff behind it. But they didn't have any cool shit, so we got some small shit instead.
Yes, yes. The author of the 4 Agreements is Don Ruiz Ramirez.
I think it's Don Miguel Ruiz.
Don Miguel Ruiz,
Yeah.
yes. And then this is the bag I got yesterday. Because I'm carrying a lot of things now. I'm carrying my journal, I'm carrying my Kindle, carrying all my rocks. So I got this. Yesterday, I had my integration call with one of the guardians from our retreat. And one of the really big things on that phone call was duality.
No.
So there's the very nice, pretty swan on this side. And then the swan's death on the other. So the duality of it very much spoke out to me. And I got the bag because I felt like it was a sign from the universe.
Casey said, I just got your book in the mail today. I heard about it in my first live stream with you last Wednesday. I just finished the first chapter and I'm hooked. I love that.
It.
First chapter's labels. I actually think that the first sentence says, fuck your labels. Yeah. Jenna said she is Mother Goose, the mother of all silly gooses.
Yes.
That's funny. This went on longer than I guess it needed to because this was supposed to be about mother and kids coming first things, and we've really derailed. But
do you want to keep going? Do you want to keep?
We're an hour in. We can end the episode because I actually want to make this an episode, so we can end the episode at the crystals and just make it a short episode.
Okay.
And continue to hang out if you want.
I'm down to do that.
You want to read a part of my book?
I can.
I love that. I like listening to you read.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are we ending the episode or are we?
We'll just keep it running.
Okay.
Carrie will just always probably do the quick sign off. Don't leave though, guys. We're just going to sign off so that we have it for the episode. And with that being said, guys, remember you are the author of your own life.
So grab a pen.
And we will see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.
Dope. Okay. I'm going to turn off the mixer and turn off you can stop recording.
Okay.
All right. Now we're going to just do some book stuff. I probably should have kept that going for the whole reading the book thing because that probably would have sold some copies. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That's okay. Bubba, you're about to get zapped. Can you move your milk chocolate over just a little bit? Chocolate milk, milk chocolate, your chocolate milk. Smart ass.
I'm very disappointed with this shirt. It's not supposed to look like this, guys. The elastic in it snapped right before I sat down to record with Buff Bell today. Change your minds?
No, I'm going to use it to make a clip for Instagram or TikTok. So, yes, I did. In that aspect, I did change my mind.
Okay. This is Chapter 7, Core Values and Non-Negotiables. Your core values are the foundational. Your core values are the foundational beliefs and guiding principles that define who you are, what you stand for, and how you show up in the world. They are deeply rooted ideals that influence your decisions, shape your relationships, and prioritize your actions. Think of them as the moral and ethical compass you use to navigate life. Core values are the guidelines by which you live, and they should be clearly defined. You should be able to identify 5 to 10 key principles that reflect the person you are and aspire to be. Personally, I have 7 core values that guide me: integrity, accountability, commitment, moderation, resilience, compassion, and duty, in that order.
You know why I picked 7?
Because 7's a good number.
It's pretty much. It's supposed to be a godly thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that I know my numerology is 8, though, I feel like I should pick another one. I'll have to explore that later.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are non-negotiables for me, and they influence every decision I make. Do you know yours? Core values go beyond a simple set of ideas. They represent the very essence of your character and serve as the foundation for living a life of purpose, of living with intent. Let's look at how these values influence various aspects of who you are. Core values are a reflection of your personal identity. They define what matters most to you as an individual and shape how you view yourself and how you fit into the world around you. For example, if honesty is one of your core values, you will naturally prioritize truthfulness in your actions and relationships. You will respect people who are honest with you, even if it hurts your feelings. You will also find yourself having hard, truthful conversations, even if it hurts the ones you love. This is where skill and communication can come in. You can be honest without being nasty. That is a choice and takes effort. I'm so glad.
Would you like me to try to find a safety pin?
No.
Or a hair tie? I could like bundle it up in the back really tight with a hair tie. Okay.
Because of the way it's going to pull on my shoulders, it's not going to work.
Okay.
Probably just going to throw this shirt out when we get home.
I would send it back.
Yeah. They also serve as a decision-making framework. When faced with difficult choices, your core values act as a filter, helping you determine what's right or wrong, what you'll stand for, and what you won't tolerate. This clarity can make decision-making less stressful because you already know what aligns with your true self. This will also speak to I don't like how this makes me feel. Your core values and non-negotiables will always dictate your situational awareness with people, not just in conversations, but in seeing their actions. Don't ignore this. Living by your core values builds consistency in your actions and words, even when inconvenient, creates trust and strengthens your reputation. People will know what to expect from you because you remain steadfast in your principles. This will push and pull people in and out of your life. Your core values are also tied to your motivation and drive. They give purpose to your goals and ambitions, acting as why behind what you do. For example, if growth is one of your core values, you're likely to seek opportunities for self-improvement and learning. Lastly, core values influence your connections and boundaries. They help you align with like-minded individuals who share similar beliefs while setting clear boundaries. You are signaling what behaviors or attitudes you won't accept in your relationships. This fosters healthier interactions and ensures that your relationships are rooted in mutual respect. Examples of core values. Core values will vary from person to person, but here are some common examples to consider. Integrity, being honest and adhering to strong moral principles. Respect, treating others with dignity and valuing their perspectives. Accountability, owning your actions and their consequences. Courage, facing challenges and fears with resilience. Compassion, extending kindness and empathy to others. Growth, committing to self-improvement and lifelong learning. Family, prioritizing meaningful relationships with loved ones. Freedom, valuing independence and the ability to choose your own path.
We talk about freedom for a minute.
Okay.
If you are somebody that is not financially stable, and a flat tire could be the difference between you feeding your kids healthy meals or eating ramen all week, you don't have freedom. You are caught in a cog of perpetual motion of just hand to mouth, hand to mouth, hand to mouth, hand to mouth. You will not be able to take vacations. You will not be able to do any of the things in life that you want to do that's going to fill your cup, including basic self-care, because you can't afford it. When it comes to freedom, when I speak on freedom, a lot of that comes down to being able to say that I can do whatever the fuck I want to do and mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick, somebody on YouTube commented, question, will you guys be honest and tell your kids about your childhoods, even the hardest parts of it? There are things from my childhood that the children don't need to know. The lessons that I've learned from my childhood, 100%.
Yeah.
Even at 6 and 7 years old, they will ask me questions about my childhood. And I will tell them things like, I didn't get to experience what you experienced. And then we have conversations of not all families are like our family.
Right.
And I want them to have that perspective of when you come home and you are met with love and goofy moments and playful moments. And even though sometimes Pops and I are stern with you, it's for a reason. Not all children get to go home to that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I don't think that I would ever fill the kids in on my abuse.
Yeah.
Why would they need to know that? Even as
Right.
adults, why would they need to know that I went through that?
Yeah.
What they need to know is that I set a good example and I raised them to be good human beings, and that all of the ugly that I went through made me who I am,
Yeah.
which has allowed me to be compassionate and understanding in the way that things go. So
Made
no,
you into pops.
there's absolutely no reason for them to ever hear how horrible my fucking life was. I'm going to grab a drink. Would you like anything? I know you still have chocolate milk there, but
No, I'm good. Thank you.
I'm going to put the camera back on you so I can walk back over there.
Knowing your core values and living in alignment with them brings clarity, fulfillment, and confidence. On the other hand, when your actions conflict with your values, it often creates stress, dissatisfaction, and a sense of being lost. If you haven't figured out your core values, reflect on moments in your life when you felt deeply proud, fulfilled, or upset. These experiences often highlight what truly matters to you. Once identified, your values become your guide, enabling you to live unapologetically and with intent. Non-negotiables, the unwavering pillars of your character. Non-negotiables are the core principles and beliefs that you absolutely won't compromise on. They are the foundation of who you are, the behaviors, values, and standards that define your character and shape how you see others and respect you, or shape how others see and respect you. These aren't just ideals. They're the commitments you hold to no matter what, because they're essential to living the life you believe is good. Think of non-negotiables as the lines you draw in the sand, the boundaries that define what you stand for and what you won't accept. They represent what's truly important to you. For example, maybe your integrity is non-negotiable, meaning no matter the situation, you'll always choose honesty and stick to your principles. Living by your non-negotiables shows consistency in your actions and reinforces who you are at your core, even when it's tough. To identify your non-negotiables, start by reflecting on what truly matters to you. Consider the following questions. What are the principles I want to guide my life? What am I unwilling to compromise on, no matter the situation? How do I want others to perceive me? What kind of legacy do I want to leave behind? Once you have clarity on these questions, write them down, revisit them often, and make sure your actions align with them. Understanding your core values and non-negotiables gives you direction and purpose. Without them, it's easy to drift through life, bending to the will of others and lacking in firm foundation. Knowing what you stand for helps you resist external pressures and stay true to yourself. Core values and non-negotiables are not just concepts, they are the building blocks of your character. They influence your decisions, relationships, and success. When you lack clarity about these principles, you risk being aimless, inconsistent, and easily swayed by others. When you know your values and stick to your non-negotiables, you build confidence, foster meaningful relationships, and create a life of purpose. Taking the time to define your core values and non-negotiables is a crucial step in becoming the person you aspire to be. It's not just knowing about what you stand for, it's about living it every day. By aligning your actions with these principles, you create a solid foundation for growth, success, and fulfillment. The man you want to be starts with the values you live by today. Make them count. Now that I have laid all of that out, I feel like I just gave a clumsy school lesson. I tried my best to piece it all together. I want to give you another challenge, a different kind of challenge.
When I wrote that paragraph, I feel like I just gave a clumsy school lesson.
Yeah.
It was because I had to reread that chapter like 4 fucking times to get to that point, to make sure that I was getting my point across of like how important it is that you have your core values and your non-negotiables, because it's going to dictate relationships, intimate and otherwise. It's going to, your jobs, where you're comfortable working, what you're going to be happy doing.
Right.
And like, I didn't want the importance of all of that to be understated. Yeah. So I was laughing because after I reread it a couple of times, like, man, this sucks. Like, this is not how I talk.
Write your own eulogy.
Mm.
I know it sounds morbid. Thinking about your own death isn't exactly a fun exercise. But here's the truth. None of us are getting out of this alive. So what do you want people to say about you when your time comes? Picture your loved one standing there, delivering a tearful goodbye, reflecting on your life. What do you want them to say about the person you were, the impact you had, and the legacy you left behind? Now take it a step further. Imagine you died tomorrow. What would actually be said about you based on the life you've lived up to this point? Be honest. Not what you wish people would say, but what you believe they would say. Would you be proud of the picture that they'd paint? Or would it feel like something's missing, like there are pieces of your story you haven't even written yet?
5 years ago, my eulogy would have been not a good one. I would have had maybe 3 people that would have been able to say good things about me. And those are the people that I loved and like did for and like was there for. But the rest of the world would have had nothing positive to say. It's hard. And especially when you're honest with yourself, because everybody has an idea of who they are in their mind. The reality is who they are in their mind versus who they actually are is very different. We all have a facade that we put up for the outside world to keep us safe and protected. It's like a falsity. We want people to like us. We want to fit in. People please, or push people away, and because of that, I don't know. I wonder if I would have died a decade ago, how many people would have actually showed up to my funeral?
Yeah.
Rewriting my eulogy for the 10-year mark, because it's going to get into that. I think that I'm working towards that man now, and I know for a fact that if I was to die today or tomorrow, that my eulogy would be outstanding because of the lives that we've touched. But a lot to think about.
Once you've done that, write a second version. This time, imagine it's 10 years from now. Who do you want to be by then? What do you hope people would say about you after a decade of living with intent and striving to grow? Then go further. Write a third version for 30 years from now. By then, who will you have become? What kind of impact did you have on those you loved in your life? For most of us, the first eulogy isn't going to feel great. It's uncomfortable because it forces us to confront the reality of where we are, not just where we want to be. Maybe it's filled with regrets, unfinished goals, or I wish I had's and what ifs. That's okay. If it stings a little, that's the point. It's meant to shine a light on the gap between the life you're living and the life you want to live. But here's where the power of this exercise comes in. When you write those future eulogies, the ones for 10 and 30 years down the road, you're not just imagining a future version of yourself. You're creating a vision of the person you want to become. You're defining the values, actions, and priorities that will shape the legacy you leave behind. And in doing so, you're gaining clarity about the kind of life you need to start building right now. If you're already living a life you're proud of and can write a eulogy today that reflects that, then you're a better person than I am, because I am not there yet. I still have work to do. There are pieces of my story I haven't written, things I need to change, and goals I need to reach. I'm still a very flawed and broken man. You know what, though? That's okay. Acknowledging that is part of the process. This exercise isn't just about confronting morality. It's about discovering what really matters to you. It's about identifying your core values and defining the kind of life you want to live. It's a challenge to step into the person you know you're capable of being starting right now. So, take the time to do this. Be honest with yourself. It might be one of the most important things you ever write. So now that you identified the man you want to become, the next step is figuring out how to implement those values into your daily life. This is where the real work begins. You're likely carrying a lot of bad habits, learned behaviors, and emotional triggers that need to be unlearned. These patterns often operate on autopilot. They are subconscious reactions you've repeated so many times that they feel ingrained. Changing them requires intentionality, accountability, and persistence. By nature, I'm a defensive person. I don't handle disrespectful situations well, and what I perceive as disrespect has often been met with emotional reactions. Let me be honest, those reactions have never led to positive outcomes, not once. What they have done is start unnecessary fights, hurt people I care about, and even ruin relationships over time. This is one of the areas I've had to work on most in my life. When I feel disrespected, I learned that I have a choice. I can respond or I can react. Responding means pausing, thinking, and addressing the situation calmly and with intent. Reacting, on the other hand, is emotional and impulsive, and it usually just makes things worse. Here's the reality, though. I don't always get it right. There are still moments when I slip up and react instead of respond. The key is what happens next. As soon as I realize what I've done, I make it a point to stop, take accountability for my behavior, apologize, and reframe the conversation.
It is such a hard thing to do in the moment, especially when I'm an emotional brain.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the grace in a relationship comes into play. because it would be so easy for you to see that emotional reaction and to react to my reaction and it create a whole thing.
Yeah.
And it would be very easy for me to do the same thing to you. And though we're not perfect, I would say 98% of the time we're able to catch that in the moment and be like, hey, wait a minute. Like, that's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was not called for, whatever, to like kind of reel us back. I think that a lot of my growth in being able to catch that though comes from your ability to give me grace when I don't catch it. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad that you appreciate that and don't take advantage of it.
It's not even that I don't take advantage of it. It's that I don't take it for granted. I know how hard it is when you feel like you're being attacked to pause everything and be like, what the fuck was that? Because the natural reaction when attacked is to attack back. So like, I'm very grateful for all of that. You know, I would hope that you are too, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Sierra asked if it would be available on Kindle Unlimited. As of right now, no. You can buy it on Kindle, but it's not part of their program. A lot of people have been talking about your hair and nails. Got a lot of whole. I love her hair and nails. Peaches, your hair and nails look so great.
Thank you. Need to get my hair shaped soon.
What does that mean?
So I've been growing my bangs out for the last few months, and this with the sharp, long, I want to get it like nice and blended and
Gotcha.
maybe layered. I have both sides of my head shaved, and you would have no idea because of how much hair I have on my head. Let's not forget about the other side of the equation. There's another person involved, someone you believe is being disrespectful or worse, acting with a malicious intent. That makes it even harder to stay composed and accountable. It's much easier to justify your emotional reaction when you feel attacked. Just because it's easier doesn't mean it's right. Responding with intention rather than reacting with emotion is a skill that requires practice, patience, and self-awareness. If you want to implement your core values into your daily life, you'll need to start catching yourself in these moments. Notice your triggers. Pay attention to the habits and behaviors that don't align with the man you want to be. When you slip up, and you will, take accountability, correct course, and keep moving forward. Growth isn't about never making mistakes. It's about learning from them and choosing better next time. This process isn't fast or easy. It's uncomfortable, it's humbling, and it requires you to confront the parts of yourself you might not want to face. If you're serious about becoming the man you aspire to be, this is where the work changes and the day-to-day decisions, the small but meaningful changes, and the commitment to live in alignment with your values, even when it's hard. When I sat down to write my first eulogy, reflecting on where I was at in my life at the time, it was a brutally honest wake-up call. I realized that the things I wanted people to say about me when I was gone, the way I wanted to be remembered, simply couldn't be said. Maybe a handful of people might have believed those things. But was that enough? If it wasn't true across the board, could I really call it the legacy I wanted? That exercise forced me to confront the gap between the male I was and the man I wanted to be, and it sparked a profound change in both my character and how I chose to live my life. I stopped dwelling on the past. I stopped blaming others for my shortcomings. I started taking real accountability for my actions and my choices. I came to understand that when my life comes to an end, no one will sit around talking about the things others did to me.
I forgot I wrote that little paragraph.
Yeah.
Like I added that into the conversation a minute ago because I didn't think it was in there.
Mm-hmm.
Can you reread that last line? That's fucking huge.
I came to understand that when my life comes to an end, no one will sit around talking about the things others did to me.
That's big.
Mm-hmm.
It's big.
Because your death is not about anyone besides you.
Right. Well, neither is your life.
Right.
You know what I mean? And everybody wants to be like, well, if they just did this, if somebody just helped me, if the government didn't that, or, you know, if my parents just hugged me enough, if they just didn't do me dirty, if somebody just helped me out, if gave me a hand up, whatever the case may be, that's not what your life is. Your life is a series of actions that you did. So when people talk about your life on your deathbed, it's not going to be all that shit.
Right.
They're going to talk about you and your shortcomings and your greatness if you have it. Like, Yeah, they're not going to be talking about what people did to you afterwards. Real quick, we got a super chat. Amanda said, thanks to you both and Buff Bell. I'm sticking to my health journey and I'm already down 5 pounds. I am committing to myself and trying to improve for my hubby. Thank you guys for all you do.
Good for you.
You are welcome. Congrats on the weight loss. Real quick, I want to plug that we have couples retreats in the U.S. coming up. I know that a lot of people have asked for domestic retreats, even though we were doing Costa Rica and we planned a couple of other retreats. We have one in Florida in June and we have one in North Carolina in August. They are limited spots. I think there's 3 spots left in one and 2 on the other. You guys can find that information at tobebetter.com/couples-retreat if you would like to get information on the couples retreats.
Continuing. That's not the story people will tell. My kids, my grandkids, they won't even remember who hurt me or who wronged me. Furthermore, why would I want to be remembered for what others did to me? To be remembered as a victim? To be seen as a man so lacking control over his own life that the actions or perceived slights of others dictated my emotions and reactions? That's not the legacy I want to leave behind. To be remembered that way would mean giving away my power, letting others' behavior define not just my days, but my life as a whole. It would mean allowing myself to be controlled by people who likely don't care about the impact they've had on me, or worse, who intentionally sought out to undermine me. Why would I choose to let those moments define me when I have the power to choose differently? Instead, I want to be remembered for how I rose above those situations, for how I maintained composure, integrity, and strength even in the face of adversity. I want people to speak of me as someone who had control over his own life, who responded with wisdom instead of reacting with emotion, and who didn't let the negativity of others overshadow his character. That's the kind of man I strive to be. Not one who's defined by what was done to him, but one who's remembered for how he lived despite it. They'll remember how I carried myself, the decisions I made, and the way I treated others. They'll either speak about me with love and respect, or they won't, and that's entirely on me and the choices I make moving forward. This realization was a game changer. It made taking accountability in the moment, even during conflict, much easier to accept. It shifted my perspective on what it means to tolerate disrespect or let something go unchecked. I began to see those moments differently, not as losses or signs of weakness, but as opportunities to control my narrative, to shape how I'll be remembered. It also forced me to take a long, hard look at my ego and recognize how often it got in the way of the bigger picture. My story isn't defined by single moments of conflict or perceived disrespect. It's told as a whole, a collection of choices, actions, and relationships that, together, form my legacy. Unless there's an extreme defining moment that becomes my legacy, and let's hope it's a good one, people will remember me for the life I lived, not the small slights or moments of anger I let consume me. That realization freed me from the weight of needing to win every moment. That realization freed me from the weight of needing to win every moment or prove my worth in ways that didn't matter in the long run. It allowed me to focus on the bigger picture, on living a life that reflects the values and principles I want to leave behind. It's not always easy, but keeping the end in mind makes the hard choices in the moment feel a lot more meaningful. Every choice, every interaction, every decision is a choice to add to the story I'll leave behind, and I want to make it one worth telling. Writing my own eulogy was a turning point in my life. I include it in this chapter because it was through that exercise that I was able to establish my core values. It started as a challenge from someone else. Funny enough, I can't even remember who presented the idea to me. What I do remember is the profound effect it had on me and how it forced me to confront who I was, who I wanted to be, and the gap in between. You never know where those golden nuggets of wisdom will come from, but they're out there, often hidden in plain sight. Whether it's a conversation, a book, a random thought, or even a challenge like this, the lessons that can change your life are always around you. The key is to pay attention. Life is full of moments that can spark growth, but you have to be willing to see them and, more importantly, act on them. Do not be afraid of change or to change. Like I said earlier, don't miss the opportunities when they present themselves. Sometimes it's a small, seemingly insignificant things, a piece of advice, an uncomfortable question, or a fleeting moment of clarity that could have the potential to make the biggest difference. Writing the eulogy was one of those moments for me. It gave me the clarity I needed to define my values and start making changes. It reminded me of the power of paying attention to the lessons life is trying to teach us every day. You want me to read the eulogy?
I do, but I want to real quick just touch on there's being caught in the moment and paying attention to what's happening in the moment. When we did our ayahuasca retreat, one of the things that I gleaned or that I took away from it all is that it doesn't matter if it's the 1,000th time that you've done something. It's the first time that you're doing it in this moment. So it is the first time that you were doing it every time that you do it, if you view it from that standpoint. So you could be a master that's done something a million times and be really good at it. But right now is the time that it matters most, because all those other times has already happened. Mm-hmm. And the ones that you are preparing to do in the future aren't here yet. So like keeping that in mind and living truly in the moment and being aware clearly of what's happening right now. And they talk about this a lot in Buddhism. This is how you find peace. It's important to remember that, like, you know, to pay attention to what's going on. And we've started implementing Where Are You? Because it's a good way to ground yourself and know, well, I'm at the beach right now with my kids and like we're climbing on cannons at Fort DeSoto's, or we're taking pictures, or we're training the dogs or whatever, because this is what matters right now. This moment, all of the other shit that we're planning for is great. We're planning for those things, but they're not here yet. We need to focus on right now. And that was a good point, and all of that just triggered that thought. So I figured I'd spew it.
I like it. As I write this, I can't help but pause to reflect on my marriage. The fact that I have a successful, happy, and fulfilling relationship with my wife is a direct result of the work I started doing because of everything I've shared here. That journey paved the path necessary for us to build what we have today. If I had met Peaches at any other time in my life before I had committed to the changes I needed to make, there's no way I would have been the man I needed to be to make it work with her. She has said the same about her own growth journey. It's a testament to the power of personal transformation and the willingness to do the hard work to become the person you need to be. It also speaks to the power of having the right person in your life, but that is a conversation for another time. I'd also be remiss not to acknowledge the part of my legacy will undoubtedly be the To Be Better podcast and the work Peaches and I have done together. Writing my eulogy and gaining the insights I did at the time set the stage for what has become my life's work. It was a wake-up call. I needed to start taking accountability, to focus on growth, and to align my actions with my values. Those steps didn't just change my life, they laid out the foundation for the lives we've been able to touch, the people we've mentored, and the marriages that we've helped save. That is our legacy. It's not just about the conversations we've had on the podcast or the content we've shared. It's about the impact that we've made. The real, tangible ways we've helped people navigate their own journeys, heal their relationships, and create better lives for themselves. None of this would have been possible if I hadn't faced my shortcomings and made a decision to change. The work we've done together is something I will always be proud of, and it's a reminder that the legacy you leave is built by the choices you make every single day. Your story is still being written. Don't squander this life.
Breathing through that, almost cried. I am proud of what we've done. I'm proud of all of this. Like, this is something that, I don't know. I feel that regardless of the ugly that's come along with all of it, we have impacted so many lives in such a positive way that, like, it just, the scale is so unbalanced with good that it doesn't matter, you know?
I agree.
I also think that this podcast is balancing my karma.
Yeah.
You know, we also talk in there about the lives that have changed, and it's, you know, the legacy in that is that the people that we have impacted, it's not going to just be them. If people have had toxic relationships and they're able to fix their relationships, and their kids get to see that, and they get to see that people are capable of change, and, you know, it's generational. If we affect 3 people, it could affect 50 in a year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Jenna said the brief mentions of her throughout the book made me a little emotional. She will be here forever now. The internet isn't guaranteed to last. Written word, though, books have an internal feeling to me. Yeah. Jenna said, I love that you wrote this. It's so beautiful.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I want to write another one. I haven't even started laying the bones out, because I don't know if I want to write one more book or 2 books. I definitely I want to write a book on divorce and like improving yourself afterwards. But we've had discussions about that, I think that it needs to be not so much about divorce, but working on yourself when single and what it means to be alone. There's a whole lot going on there. We have a whole lot there. Guys, if you want to buy the book, I'm going to post the link one last time in the chat. It can be bought on Amazon, or you can buy a signed copy on tobebetter.com. Those books are almost sold out. However, I have more on the way. We send stickers with the books when we send the books out. So we've been on for over an hour and a half. I think we can wrap up, call it a night, go home, watch some TV, chill out, not have to work again till Monday. Who's that?
I'm tired. I've been working almost 10 hours today.
Yeah, you have. You recorded all day today. Will it be on the books apps as well? No, it won't. Right now it's available on Kindle, Amazon, and our website, and that's it. We will eventually have an audiobook, but I have to figure out how I want to go about actually getting that done. So Bio said, people who look like you guys are in such deep suffering. You have to appear smart because you look so ignorant and low class, just verbal con men. Well, I'm sorry.
I think I look fucking fantastic.
I think you do too.
So
I'm glad that you think that we look ignorant, because, you know, you took the time to actually listen, watch, and leave a comment. So our appearance did something. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for commenting. That's really good for the algorithm as well. Guys, if you were part of the ultimate tier on Patreon, make sure that you are paying attention for the website link, because we are going to have the next shirt up for the quarter pretty soon. So with that being said, guys, thanks for tuning in. Remember, you are the authors of your own life.
grab a pen.
And we will see y'all on the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bloop.